Nanotechnology.
The basic idea behind molecular nanotechnology is it is the physical underpinning for the singularity. It is that which provides the better the hardware for the better computer. It provides the hardware for lighter, stronger materials. It provides hardware for better medical technologies. There's a whole bunch of things that are coming where we need to have better capabilities in terms of building things, and that's the basic purpose of molecular nanotechnology, is to provide the physical basis on which a lot of this stuff then proceeds forward and takes advantage of it. So, convergent assembly is a way of building big things which is probably more amenable to use in manufacturing. Convergent assembly basically starts over here at the left. You have teeny tiny things, and you double the size at each step. If I have molecular parts that are 1 nanometer in size as inputs, I take the 1 nanometer parts, I put them 8 of them together into a cube, I get a 2 nanometer part. I take 8 of those, I put them together into a cube, I get a 4 nanometer part. At each stage you can double the size, and at each stage it gets bigger and bigger. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. In 30 doublings, you've reached 1 meter in length, more or less, give or take a bit. So using this kind of architecture, you can go from atoms and molecules up to large objects in 30 steps if you're using binary. You don't have to use binary. You could make a factor of 10 bigger at each step if you wanted to. But for conceptual purposes, it's easy to think of it in binary steps. And voila, you can have big things. The other implication of this self-replication, convergent assembly, marvelous architectures is that the manufacturing costs are going to go through the floor. Right now we have examples of self-replicating manufacturing systems. They're called agricultural products. Lumber, hay, potatoes. They're cheap. A potato is a miracle of biological machinery. And yet we think nothing of taking this miracle of biological machinery and mashing it with a little butter and having it for dinner. The reason is that it doesn't cost very much, and it doesn't cost very much because the biological molecular machines can make more molecular machines. And as we build our own molecular machines, those molecular machines will be able to build more molecular machines, and so the manufacturing costs go through the floor. Now, I'm not talking about design costs and licensing costs and patent fees and marketing fees and all the other stuff that goes along with making products and selling them. But once you drive the manufacturing costs through the floor and improve the quality to get every atom in the right place, that's going to have a big impact. So when you're thinking about the impact of a new technology, or in particular a manufacturing technology, what you want to think about are the things that it can manufacture. And you say, okay, if you can, what about computers? What about medicine? What about structural elements? So the first thing we notice is that if you can get the atoms in the right place, you can make really powerful computers. Basically, you've been watching the computer revolution, you've been living the computer revolution. Well, we got a couple orders of magnitude more to go, and the pace looks like it's going to keep right up there as we move straight into the molecular logic elements and molecular memories. So you ought to be able to get something like 10 to the 24th logic operations per second in a computer the size of a sugar cube. That's a lot. And 10 to the 21st bits in the same volume. I was thinking about that. What is 10 to the 21st bits? Well, a CD, they're kind of old technology, I know, but CDs are, 500, 600 megabytes, something like that. If you filled a football stadium with CDs, you'd get about 10 to the 21st bits. So if you take a football stadium of CDs and pack it into a sugar lump, that's pretty much what you got. Computer power is going to go up say, 10,000 blue gene supercomputers in one little sugar lump cube, all operating together. So today those would cost a whole bunch of money, but in the future it's going to be, you know, it's a fraction of a pound. If you're selling molecular computers by the pound and you've got a cubic centimeter, that's not very much. You're going to be paying pennies for this thing. And another miraculous capability, this computer will be so powerful that it will be able to run Windows 2020 and it will be snappy. Miracles will never cease. High-density memory. This is a proposal made a couple of years ago to have a high-density read-only memory. You have a surface, and the zeros and ones are encoded by storing fluorines and hydrogens bonded to the surface, and then you have a probe that moves along and reads out whether it's looking at a fluorine or a hydrogen. And you get very high-density memory if you do this. If one atom stores 1 bit, that's good density, you know? That's a pretty good storage density. There are a bunch of medical capabilities. Respirocytes. When you breathe in oxygen, and your red blood cells carry the oxygen to your body. And when you hold your breath, you've only got a little bit of oxygen both in your lungs and in your tissues. Well, if you have artificial red blood cells that can hold a lot more oxygen, you could hold your breath for an hour, which would be kind of nice. And there's some advantages to that, particularly if you have a heart attack. Microbivores, devices that would detect and ingest invaders, pathogens in the circulatory system. If you could clear out those infectious diseases more rapidly and more effectively, then we could eliminate more diseases more rapidly and cure more infections more efficiently. And finally, a chromalycyte. That's a device that is more complicated, but would selectively target individual cells. It would carry as a payload a new set of chromosomes, and it would remove the chromosomes that were in a cell and replace them with a new set of chromosomes pre-programmed to be properly set up for that particular cell. So these are the kind of devices